We are guys who really enjoy our wives having amazing sexual encounters and experiences, and it doesn't always have to be with us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle Melville Kashan. I am the Community and Content Director here at Sexual Health Alliance. And today we're joined by the hosts of Cuck My Life, a podcast made for cucks, by cucks, and everyone adjacent. This is your chance to learn from someone immersed in the culture and committed to creating sex positive, shame free education. So, we're going to dive into a little bit of Cuckolding 101. All right, so we're with PoBoy and Hopeful. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm a middle-aged person. I live in the American South. I'm married. My wife has a girlfriend and also enjoys kind of other partners sometimes and stuff like that. And I host this podcast where we talk to people that are cucks or cuck adjacent.
Love that. Hopeful?
So, Michelle, we're a group of guys who are part of a larger group of guys who support each other through this lifestyle, this one sided ethical non monogamy. And we were having all these conversations that we thought were really interesting. And we decided to start recording some of them and putting them out as a podcast.
Yeah.
That's how we all got together. And that was the genesis of the podcast. And one of the reasons why we keep doing it is because people keep telling us that we're helping them, that they're
Yeah.
better understanding who they are and what they want by listening to us. And that is the focus and the crux of our podcast. I'm not going to say it's never salacious, but it's always about trying to further the understanding of one sided ethical non monogamy, however that looks for the people listening.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And I was going to ask you to tell me a little bit more about your podcast. So, like, what types of guests do you have on, and what are some of the topics of your episodes?
Dr. David Lay has been a guest of ours, and he's going to do the show again after we do this. We have talked to authors of books surrounding uh, non monogamy and cuckolding. We have talked to cage manufacturers. We have talked to myriad hot wives and cuckoldresses. We've talked to cucks. We've talked to stags. We talk to the people who are living the lifestyle, and we try to get them to help us normalize conversations around cuckolding.
Yes. So I think I'm ready to dive into a little bit of the 101 because we might have some people listening who have no idea really what cuckolding is. So let's start with, how would you personally define cuckolding? What is it?
I like the
Poor boy.
Oh yeah, I like the definition of one-sided ethical non-monogamy. And it's anytime you get into these definitions, there's always like kind of shades of gray that are involved. But basically the idea is like we are guys who really enjoy our wives having amazing sexual encounters and experiences, and it doesn't always have to be with us.
Yeah, I love that.
I think that's a great answer, Poor. That's exactly what we are.
Yeah, wonderful. So I think a lot of people might not really understand it. So, what are some of the common misconceptions that people have about cuckolding?
They think we're weak. They
Oh,
think that cucks are weak or beta or some lesser form of man. When I will tell you, and I mean this, and or I think you'll back me up, it takes incredible strength to be a cuckold. It is incredibly difficult to step back from that aspect of your life and let somebody else be in that place that's supposed to be societally only your place. And there's nothing weak or beta about the men who are capable of living on this side of this lifestyle.
yes.
And that's a stereotype we have to push back against a lot. Again, one of the reasons for the pod.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there's a there's a lot of that sort of we almost want to call it like the literature in this case, a lot of kind of porn and memes and things like that, and even the term has gotten mainstreamed a little bit. There's People are called conservatives or what, all these things,
Mm.
and they're all meant. And I suppose the original term might have been sort of negative in its connotations. And we're trying to say, look, this is what we do now that we call cuckolding is basically it's just a sexual thing that we enjoy. It doesn't say anything about strength or weakness or any of those things.
Yeah. And so a little bit back to the 101, I know you used a couple terms at the beginning. So can you tell us what some of the key roles or dynamics are in a typical cuckold relationship? Maybe a little bit of a glossary, if you will.
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. So the cuckold or the cuck, that's kind of your the partner that's not non-monogamous. That's the one that's sort of with the one person and then we call, in a female male or a female that could be good, cuckoldress is the one that's out there kind of enjoying their freedom and able to sort of write their own story as far as who they want to have sex with and stuff like that. And this is something also, while I'm on that topic, there's gay couples involved in this. There's there are a few women that they call them cuck queens that enjoy basically the man catting around, if you will, going out and seeing multiple partners and so forth, while they sort of stay at home and are monogamous. But that's one of those. It's kind of like a unicorn thing. I've met a few people that are like that, but not a ton.
Yeah.
And it's not just cucks. There are stags and vixens. There are hot wives. It really depends on how each individual within the lifestyle defines themselves. There's no one definition that encompasses everybody. Everybody does this differently. And Michelle, the only way to do it wrong is if one of you is not happy, right?
Mm,
So
yeah.
generally there is the man, the married man who is either the cuck or the stag, something along those lines. And then there's that person's partner who would be the cuckoldress or the vixen or the hot husband or the hot wife. They go out and they experience pleasure with other people. Those other people are generally referred to as bulls, which is the term that the lifestyle uses to describe the outside partner who comes in and plays with the non-monogamous partner.
I think that's great to have a baseline for typically what these terms mean, but also when you're interacting in real life, ask somebody like, what does this mean to you?
Yeah,
Like what is
100%.
That is
Yeah,
so important.
yeah, don't assume. No assumption.
Yes.
it's a
Yes.
theme of our show that everybody does it different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause we'll run into that some with some of the, say, the bull type thirds. They may approach somebody that identifies as a cuck, and they may just start off on kind of a sort of a real negative talk and a sort of humiliation aspect and stuff like that. And not all cucks are like that. There's
Mm.
some that are like that, but if that's something you want to kind of jump into, you need to ask first.
Yes. And that brings me to my next question, because you're talking about how it takes a lot of strength, to do this. It's not for the weak, and so it involves a lot of complex emotions, things like jealousy or humiliation,
Hmm.
aversion. So what emotional skills are essential to navigate this safely?
Well, you have to have a high emotional intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to have a high EQ. There's no question about that. And I think you have to be somewhat cerebral. You need to be able to be turned on by the situation more than by what is happening to you, right?
Yeah.
Um, Most men, when they have sex, it's about when they come. When they come, it tends to be over.
Mm-hmm.
And in this lifestyle, women are far more empowered. They make the decisions. They decide for the most part who they're going to sleep with and what they're going to do. They decide when sex is over. It is it is a very, to use a term that our friend Michael C. of the Keys and Ankle podcast uses, it's a very wife centric or partner centric lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think deep inside there is that you use the term compersion, which is one that we use a lot, which is sort of a deriving, the way I understand it is deriving joy from another person's joy.
Hmm.
It's the opposite of jealousy.
Happy. Yeah, yeah. And it's one of those, it's very much, it's for the monogamous of the partners, it's kind of, you sort of have cerebral orgasms. They're not as much about the physical and more about the tickling of the brain, if you will.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up about compersion, because I asked that in my question, but honestly, I didn't even know what that was until I started working in this space. So
Yeah.
for anybody who doesn't know, it's like the opposite of jealousy. It's like getting joy from watching your partner experience pleasure.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So, what advice would you have for someone who wants to bring up their cuckolding fantasy to a partner for the first time?
So I will tell you that we have made 57 or 59, somewhere in there, episodes of our podcast, and we've gotten much better at it in the later episodes. We have fixed sound quality issues, and we've just gotten better at it.
Hmm.
And still, our number one episode is the third or fourth episode we ever dropped, which is how to get your wife into it. And
Yeah.
essentially, what we said on that episode was, we don't know.
Hmm.
Um,
Love it.
we don't know, but we do have, and we're having a conversation later this month, or we just had a conversation with 4 women, and we asked them, what's the best way to bring it up to you?
Yeah.
But here's the truthful answer, and it's not a sexy answer, and it's not an easy answer, but the truth is, you have to put on your big boy pants and have a real conversation about who you are and what you want, and you have to be prepared for pushback, and you
Hmm.
have to be patient. This is not something that women in general think about on a daily basis. It's not something that goes through their minds. So
Yeah.
when you approach them, it's going to feel very subversive to them, and it goes against what they have been brought up to believe in societally.
Right.
So you have to be patient, and you have to be clear. And every single woman that we have talked to about when they were spoken, or when their partner brought this to them initially, has said the same thing. I thought he brought it to me because he wanted to sleep with other women.
Mm.
Right? So you have to be able to navigate those complicated conversations. You have to be able to have real conversations with your partner, and you have to be vulnerable and open, and you have to be patient. Let her sit with it, let her understand it, let her ask questions, and you can't pester her.
Yeah, that's great advice.
It's
Oh,
hard to, we talk about how the lifestyle, one of the things that you really develop is communication. And part of that is being able to like dig in and identify emotions. And if something scares you, what scares you about it? And that kind of thing. And so a lot of it is to just be able to communicate with your partner. Um, and and that, we all think we're good at it, but sometimes you need to work a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one thing I've learned from working in sexual health, and it's anybody involved in consensual non-monogamy needs more communication. So I think
Hmm.
that's a common misconception, is that like, oh, like it doesn't take that much communication, or it's the same thing as cheating, or, like any type of partner sharing or group play or any of
Hmm.
the activities requires an immense amount of communication.
Yes. Yeah. And you got to kind of be tuned in to your partner and sort of their yeah, you got to communicate enough that you can kind of really know where they are, what they're thinking, and what they're feeling.
And
Yeah.
let us say this. Communication also means active listening. You
Mm.
have to hear what she's saying, and you have to try to understand how she feels about it. If you're not doing that, you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah. So at Sexual Health Alliance, what we do is we educate therapists, educators, coaches, counselors. So, what is one thing that you wish more people, like those sexual health professionals out there, understood about the cuckold lifestyle?
Well, that's easy. That the people who do this are just people. We're all just regular people. Now, we might lead interesting sex lives, but for the most part, we're all just out there doing the same things everybody else is doing in daily life. The women that we talk to, the men that they're married to, their parents, their partners, they have arguments and fights. They're just regular people who have a more interesting sex life than the average person.
Yeah, totally.
And also, like, I guess one of the things that I didn't quite understand as I got into this lifestyle was it's not something that's going on all the time, you know? It can be an episodic thing. It might only happen a couple of times a year,
Yeah.
every few months, you know? So there's a lot of just kind of real life out there in addition to that.
Yeah, definitely. That's such a great point. And I think one of the things we work really hard to do at Sexual Health Alliance is provide this type of education because traditionally, sex therapists, mental health therapists aren't given this type of education. So a couple might come into their office wanting to work on their communication skills and then bring up, like, that they enjoy cuckolding. And the therapist is like, oh my gosh, like you need to be monogamous. It's going to ruin your relationship.
Hmm.
And that type of thing can be really damaging to people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of outside sources. You know, I grew up very conservative, religious type background, and so when we started doing this, I had like a lot of kind of ego pushback from my upbringing in my head. You know, oh gosh, you're going to hell. This is, you know, this is how your marriage is going to end and stuff like that. And definitely, that's not something you would want to have from your therapist as well.
We
Absolutely.
talk about this all the time that when it's when cuckolding or ethical non-monogamy is presented in mass media, whether it's TV or movie, there's always some horrible thing that comes along with it. Always,
Mhm.
right? There
Right.
is, it is, it's always treated as if you are sexually open or if you are an empowered woman, then bad things will happen.
Hmm.
And that's not always the case.
Absolutely. Well, those were all of my questions for the two of you. Thank you so much for joining me for this short video that we did today. Do you have anything else to add before we go?
Just that we're really excited to have this opportunity. Um, we started the show to help normalize conversations around this complicated lifestyle and to have the opportunity to talk to people who will help other people accept who they are and what they need. It's an incredible honor, and we're super excited to be part of this.
Well, thank you. We're so excited to have you join us. For anyone who's interested, you can join our online event, Group Play and Partner Sharing, happening this May. And there will be a link in the description below. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. And thank you all for listening. Have a great day. We hope you enjoyed that conversation with the guys from Cuck My Life Podcast. If you love sexual health education, please subscribe to our channel. If you enroll as a student with Sexual Health Alliance, you could attend one of our online learning events for free. It's included in your tuitions. If you have any questions for the guys at the Cuckold Podcast, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and we'll try to answer those as soon as we can. So, do us a favor and share this video with someone who might benefit from this information. Cuckolding 101 is a fascinating topic. I'm sure you've got people in your network who would love this video. Your support helps us reach more people with important sexual health information. So, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and we hope to see you at an online event soon. Thank you for being exceptional.